Hey yo, what's up with y'all? How y'all doing today? In today's video, we're gonna break down and explain how Peterbot won over $50,000 playing Fortnite's Pro-Am Cup. Remind you, Pro-Am is basically a team made of a pro player and an amateur player, and his teammate was Uzi Antics. Basically, he's just a content creator that reacts to gameplay, but this time he actually got to play. And not only just play, he's playing with a 5x FNCS winner. And together, we will be analyzing his moves. Remind you, this is duo reload, so it's a bit more different. I will show you and explain how Peterbot got this done. Remind you, there's a bunch of other pro teams, right? So it's not going to be easy. But anyways, let's see how he did it. So without any further ado, let's get inside. Okay, so first he starts off being aggressive, as usual. He mainly was focusing on third partying and getting tags. Notice how he only rushes after he gets them both weak. They're also in a bad position, so that makes it 10 times easier. He shockwaves, drop down, gets a free tag and a knock. But then he continues to break into the box. But notice as soon as it happens, he disengages. Number one thing with reload is that you always want to be moving around. You never want to stand still. Notice how he narrows down on one person after he finds out that they're weak enough to kill. You always want to focus on one person at a time. If you focus on trying to eliminate two different people in two different areas at the same time, it's not going to work out. That's why he split up and chased this one player down, because one kill is better than no kills. Next up is going to be a fight between Peterbot and Mongraal. He starts off aggressive again, trying to see who's weak and who's not. But him overdoing it does get him cracked. But notice what he does after he got cracked. He goes back for exit control and he makes more space for himself. Notice how he sets up a right hand peek just in case he follows behind him. Mongraal thought it was a good idea to spam shockwaves, but every time he did that, Pete was just covering him up with builds before he could place his own. Notice how he always creates space to his left side for a right hand peek every time Mongraal shockwaves. You see that? And that's how you force a right hand peek, especially in close corners like this. He shockwaves, he builds over him, he ends up getting the wall. That just gives him the right hand peek. But he ends up getting tagged, and Mongraal's teammate LAA ends up pulling up behind him, so he actually decided to back off. And notice how Uzi cleared away for him, and that's how you support your teammate. Next thing is, I want you to realize is that he doesn't fear the storm. If you're playing reload, even if you're playing regular pub, do not be afraid of the storm or storm damage. I know it may seem crazy to stay in storm, but it's not a bad idea. It's the better option. Think about it, if they force their way to the circle, they would take way more damage from the players that are sitting inside zone than the actual storm itself. And notice how Pete goes the long way around to the left side and refarms and stacks up on mats. Reminds you, if you have the chance to farm mats, do it, because you have to use a lot of mats when you rotate. And if you're not getting any refreshes, that's the better option. And at this state of the game, they're only focusing on rotating and getting damage. They're not trying to kill or jump on anybody yet. And to be honest, to win a game like this, it's all about positioning and planning ahead. You have to plan out your rotations and also make sure that they're clear enough to rotate. Make sure there's no traffic and there's nobody watching you. But if it was going to go that way, he was already ready to grapple. But instead, he went to the right side. So he makes his move. And notice how he's using these old builds and the storm to rotate. And that way he saves on mats. And nobody will really notice them at all. And notice how he stops again to farm mats. Pay attention to how he rotates. Most people will get stuck right here. Just cones and ramps the whole way there. And he's only using cones because ramps would expose him. Look at him just spacing out. The perks of rotating early is that you won't get pressured and you can look back. A lot of people are going to try to follow your rotation path. That's because in some cases, it seems like the most safer option. And to be honest, that's the big idea. You want to be able to look back at your opponents, and that way you can pick up easy kills. The main thing you should be doing is looking back to see who else is rotating behind you, especially if you got there super early. And as you can see, the circle is still closing, so Pete is really just trying to get there before everybody else. That's his main goal. And as you can see, he's rotating while everybody else is rotating. And that way, nobody will have the opportunity to look back on him, because they haven't even set up their foundation yet. But by the time they set up their foundation, Pete is already going to have his foundation. Look at this trick he does to rotate. He knows where the circle is going to be at because he sees it. And then he makes a box in front of him. He doesn't put a cone. He throws a crash pad down, then edits the floor, and then he slides onto the crash pad. See, the purpose of this is to beat the other players there. And not only that, he wants to save his match, so at least he'll have something to rotate with at endgame. Once again, the circle is very far away, and he does his crash pad trick, but look how beautiful it is. He rotates early. He also checked height before he went to make sure they weren't going to look at him, and they were distracted, so yes, that is a green light. And really at this point, he's not focused on looking back anymore. because the zone is getting smaller and everybody's too close. And if he opens up for a shot, they can just jump on him. So what he does right here in this situation, he stays low. He has low ground and he's okay with that. I believe the actual term for this is called airporting. It's basically when you space out and claim all of the bills at the bottom. That way when they get in front of your wall, you will have all of the bills. And that's more opportunities to hit more shots on people or get kills and refreshes. And that's exactly what they did. But in the midst of this, Uzi ended up getting knocked and eliminated. So Pete had to play the rest solo. In situations like this, surviving as long as possible is what matters the most. He already got the storm damage threshold out the way, so all he has to worry about is rotating. Once again, he's looking to see if it's clear to use a crash pad. But right here, he ended up forcing something that he didn't need to, and then he ended up dying from other players behind him. Do you remember the strategy from the first game? He's going to tag any and everybody that he sees until they're weak enough to rush, and then he's going to narrow down on that specific player. And in this situation, it was Mongraal again. And as you can see right here, he's abusing movement to apply pressure. But in this situation, Mongraal was just underprepared and he wasn't paying attention because he did the right thing by claiming all the bills at the top. But he just forgot that you couldn't place cones, and I'm pretty sure he thought he placed a cone or a floor. And that's when Peterbot jumped in and killed him. And of course, Pete is going to be toxic. What I feel like really messed this up is that they didn't change their skins, and a lot of the pros were wearing their actual skin, and that made it more easier to read everybody. Because if you remember the teams and the amateur that's on that pro team, and you know how they fight, or you just know their skill level in general, you can go about it confidently. He knew that Mongraal wore their skin. He knows he can beat Mongraal, so he's full rushing him every single time. If that was somebody else, if Mongraal had on something different, Pete would have been still confident, but he would have been more cautious because he wouldn't think he knew the player's playstyle. Now it's Pete versus Typical Gamer and Booga. He starts off trying to get in and close the distance. The Typical Gamer ends up shockwaving. So he chased him, but while he did that, he ended up taking damage. So he boxed up instantly and tried to get his heals off. Remind you, they're both weak, so they're not gonna rush. That was just them getting counter damage. After his chug, he was pretty much full HP, so he was ready to rush again. He starts off going after Booga, ends up getting shockwave back, and then he goes above and tries to get AC control for an easy play. But then he starts to get third party a little bit and backs off. You should never take that risk. If you are solo rushing a duo and you're getting third party, you're just setting yourself up. And then they end up rotating after everybody left, but then they had to pull all the way to the right side again. Same strat. Pay attention and playing rotation routes. He's trying to see if anybody's in the way before he rotates. And remind you, he's in the back, so he doesn't have the pleasure of rotating as soon as the circle opens. He patiently waits until everybody else starts rotating. And that way, the main people that's in the front are going to get focused by the people that already made it in zone. And he would get focused last because he's all the way in the back. It's like he's using them as a shield. You hear how he waits to shockwave until you hear somebody else shockwaving? You don't want to be the only one rotating. You want to make sure you're rotating with others. That way, if somebody is looking, they will have multiple targets, and you will less likely be looked at. In the middle of all this commotion, Ozzy ended up getting eliminated. So once again, Peterbot had to prioritize rotations. He was spamming shockwaves so he wouldn't waste his mass. And of course he goes for the damage because why not, that's free damage. He needs to always looking back to watch the others rotate. He boxes up and spaces out, and the duo started to be aggressive. So he backed up and went down so he couldn't get focused, which is the smarter thing to do. He noticed that height was available and he was going to go for it, but then he realized somebody else was going for it. And in games like this, if height's not easy to take, don't force it. He would have just wasted a lot of mats, so he continued to just go forward. Once again, catching somebody else that was rotating, hit him for 100, coned him, hit him for 100 again. He got the full, then he decided to tank Storm. Y'all may not think this is the right play. Since he did this, he bought himself more time to be alive this way. And notice how he shockwaves in. When he landed, he instantly made 3 boxes, and he looked down for an easy kill, because players are going to rotate in. One thing I noticed about Peterbot is that he always makes space for himself. So he boxes out a little bit, and then he shockwaves ahead of everybody, and that way, he can force tags on every single player in the game. Just look at how many tags he got on everybody. Looking down, getting tags. and then he shockwaves again last second, saving all of his material. He boxes up and looks down on everybody once again. He picks up on a lot of kills and he gets his refreshes. So his goal was to simply look for nothing but shots. Now all he's left with is a grappler, and he's kinda low on mats. He's in his old builds, he's looking for angles on new players. Right here, Cooper almost takes him out, but then as Cooper rotates, he drops down, and he gets a brand new angle, and he got the elim, but he dies right after. Him taking his time to rotate and trying to stay alive for as long as he can got him good placement points. You really don't need kills for real, you really just need good placement. And if you can survive long enough to get that, plus get a decent amount of kills, you basically secured the top spot. And remind you, there are not even that many people playing. There's not a full 100 people in these lobbies. It's reload. And placement points aren't really that easy to get because everybody's good. That's why he tries his best to make in-game at least every game. His goal is to always get some points at in-game by rotating. And he at least tries to get 3 or 4 kills. But he knows that placement points are way better, so he's always going to put that first. And this next game got Peterbot kills and very good placement. You see, he secured high ground, and the only reason he wasn't contested because everyone already had their own battles. And on top of that, he's looking down directly at them every single second, just spraying and spraying and spraying. All you have to do is spray. You put pressure on them, they waste mats, and you will most likely get them killed that way because they'll be too busy focused on you instead of the fight that's in front of them. But just look, notice how they keep high ground. They don't drop, they made it to end game like this, and they won the game off of nothing but spraying. They got the max placement points because of this. They were just spraying and spraying all the way until end game. Y'all may think this is petty, but this is how you're supposed to play. There was really nobody abusing high ground the correct way. But as you can see at the end, Cooper has no mats, and then Peterbot just tags him out the air and gets the kill for the win. Now it's time for his last game. Before we continue, don't forget to use code Frizzy in the Fortnite item shop before purchasing any cosmetic items. I appreciate everyone that uses my code and everyone that's about to use it. I love all y'all. Now it's time for game 6, final game. This next game was about nothing but holding placement. He was still rushing people, being aggressive, targeting people, you know, per usual. But notice how he doesn't do too much. You have to know when enough is enough. There's no reason you should still be risking and playing like you're not. At this point in time, all you had to do was just hold placement. You just have to do good and make it to end game. That's why you don't see him taking too many risks. He gets his damage, he disengages, he gets a kill if it's possible, but only if it's 100% possible. And then he went back in Storm and got his match back up. It's all a part of you not being afraid of Storm. Don't be afraid of Storm. This whole entire time he was farming, nothing but mats. Him and Uzi were not leaving until they had max material, and I mean in all slots. They rotated in, got them a nice little box, and instantly just thought about rotating. That's it. Taking the most safest way, hugging the mountain to make sure they don't get spotted, hugging the mountain to cut off his left side, so he would only have to pay attention to his right side. Their main goal was just to make it into zone. They get into the zone, they plant themselves, and they're rooted. They're working on surviving and placement points. You should only make smart decisions. What could get us killed? Do we have to take this fight? Is this fight necessary? How much match will we lose? How do we know we can win this fight? Should we just let them pass? When you're winning and you're in first place, these are all questions you need to ask yourself. Once again, he's rotating before everyone else, prioritizing zone first and then looking back for tags. Mind you, he knows how to not put himself in a bad position, and that's exactly why he lasts so long every single game. He's been through this countless of times, over and over and over and over. He knows what to do and what not to do. It's like embedded into him. And really, to be honest, for anyone to be as good as him, you just need to put in time. If you don't put in enough time, or you don't push yourself through repetition every single time, every single day, it just won't happen. Everything he's doing is second nature. If you're playing a game and you still have to think about this, that, and the other, and you question yourself and you doubt yourself based on what you're doing, if it's right or not, then you're not there yet. These should be your main goals and your main focus. This game really doesn't matter. All he did was just make it into end game, and him and Ozzy had 8 kills altogether, and he came in 5th place. And that was all they needed. And that's exactly how Ozzy and Peterbot won 50K in Fortnite's FNCS Pro-Am. I know this is kind of old, but like, you know, why not make a video on it? It ain't gonna hurt nobody. But anyways, thank y'all for watching. I appreciate every single one of y'all. To this day, y'all are still some W's. I'ma stand by that, and I will never not be honest. Y'all deserve that much. To me, YouTube is more than just, oh, lie for this and lie for that, or I'll say this just so I can get clicks. It really doesn't matter. I don't care about lying and doing this all for clickbait titles just to try and maximize my views. I like what I got. To be honest with you, I love what I got. If a video hits 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, I'm happy. To me, in my eyes, that was a successful video. And if it just so happens to get more, I'm grateful. But anyway, shout out to all y'all. I love all y'all. Have a good day. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of y'all day. I don't know if it's nighttime or morning for y'all, but still, enjoy y'all day. Peace out and bye. I ain't uploading a week. I'm cooked.